Welcome to a deep dive into the captivating world of fencing. We're about to unravel centuries of history, swordplay, and some really interesting unexpected turns. Get ready to impress your friends with fascinating fencing facts they'd never guess.
Yeah, when you think of fencing,
Yeah.
you might picture, I don't know, elegant duels and Olympic athletes, but the roots of fencing, they go way deeper than that.
Okay, way deeper. How far back are we talking? Like, when did this all begin?
Try the Bronze Age.
What?
Yeah, around 3000 BC.
Wow.
Yeah. Imagine those first swords, less about finesse and more about survival.
Right,
Right.
right.
Those early blades were very much tools of necessity, the ancestors of the sophisticated weapons that we see in fencing today.
So from battling saber-toothed tigers to Olympic pists, what a journey. But how do we get from crude bronze to those lightning-fast duels?
Well, it's a fascinating evolution.
Yeah.
Fast forward to the Middle Ages, now the sword takes on a whole new meaning.
Okay.
It becomes a symbol of honor, intertwined with chivalry. You have codes of conduct, and duels were a way to settle disputes.
Ugh. Ah, the era of knights and castles. I can almost hear the clash of steel. But this isn't just about brute force anymore, is it?
Not at all. Think trial by combat.
Oh, wow.
Duels were often seen as judgments by God, imbued with religious significance. It's a far cry from those early survival battles.
Yeah, for sure. So we've gone from survival to sacred combat. What happens next in the story of fencing?
Then comes the Renaissance,
Okay.
a period of, well, incredible artistic and cultural change.
Mm.
And fencing is swept up in this wave of refinement. This is where we see the emergence of the rapier.
The rapier, okay. A lighter, sleeker sword, all about agility and precision. Definitely the weapon of choice for those swashbuckling musketeers.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's perfect for those duels favored by nobles of the time, where honor and reputation were on the line. With the rapier, fencing transitions from brute force to an art form, emphasizing technique and strategy.
And this evolution in weaponry, this led to a surge in fencing academies, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. I imagine Italy during the Renaissance bustling with these schools for swordsmanship.
You're picturing it perfectly. Italy and Spain become the centers of the fencing world, with masters developing intricate techniques and philosophies. One such figure is Camillo Agrippa, a true innovator.
I've heard of Agrippa. Wasn't he considered like the father of modern fencing?
Absolutely. He approached fencing with a scientist's mind,
Yeah.
emphasizing geometry, mathematical principles. Agrippa's system maximized reach and exploited angles of attack, turning swordplay into a calculated science.
So instead of just swinging a sword, you have to think about geometry, angles. Man, that adds a whole new layer of complexity.
Exactly. It's no longer just about being strong or fast. It's about outsmarting your opponent,
Yeah.
anticipating their moves, and exploiting their weaknesses. A true meeting of minds and blades.
Agrippa's work must have revolutionized fencing. Did his influence spread beyond Italy?
It did, but it was in 18th century France that fencing truly flourished.
France. Okay.
The French embraced Agrippa's ideas, refining techniques and developing new weapons like the foil.
Ah, the foil. Isn't that the weapon with a lighter blade specifically designed for practice? I'm guessing this is where fencing starts to become, less dangerous.
You're right, the foil is lighter, more flexible, designed to deliver less force upon impact. This allowed for safer and more intricate training, focusing on technique rather than brute strength.
Safer training, music to any aspiring fencer's ears. But it wasn't just about new weapons, was it? Didn't France also pioneer some key safety equipment as well?
They did indeed. The French introduced the fencing mask, a game changer in the truest sense.
Imagine that. No more risking life and limb in every duel.
Precisely. The mask drastically reduced the risk of serious injury, making fencing accessible to a wider range of people. This invention, along with the standardization of rules, solidified fencing's identity as the sport we know today.
Standardization of rules, that sounds significant. What did that actually involve?
It was a pivotal moment.
Okay.
Think about it. Before standardized rules, fencing techniques and regulations varied wildly from place to place.
Everyone's doing their own thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The standardization created a unified system for competition, ensuring fairness and transparency.
So from a free-for-all of sword fighting styles, we have clear rules, safety measures. It sounds like fencing was ready for the world stage at this point.
And what better stage than the Olympic Games? Fencing made its debut at the very first modern Olympics in Athens in 1896.
Wow. From Bronze Age battles to the global arena of the Olympics, what a journey.
It was a defining moment. It showcased fencing's transformation from battlefield practicality to a respected international sport.
And speaking of international appeal, fencing wasn't confined to Europe for long, was it?
Not at all. The 20th century saw fencing spread across the globe. It took root in the Americas, Asia, and beyond. This led to the rise of fencing powerhouses like China and South Korea, enriching the sport with diverse styles and approaches.
It's incredible to think how a sport born from ancient warfare has become this global phenomenon. But when I think of fencing, I can't help but think about its influence on pop culture, especially movies. Those epic sword fights on the big screen. Are they secretly inspired by fencing?
Absolutely. Fencing's influence on cinema is undeniable.
Yeah.
Think about classic swashbuckling films like
Hmm.
The Three Musketeers or The Mask of Zorro. Those iconic duels, the way the actors move with such precision and grace, it's all rooted in fencing techniques.
You're right. Those scenes always feel so elegant and charged with tension.
That's because they're essentially choreographed fencing matches, just adapted for the big screen. It's a testament to the visual appeal and dramatic potential of fencing.
And it's not just those classic films, right? Don't modern action movies use fencing techniques as well?
They do indeed.
Mm.
Even in films like Pirates of the Caribbean, you see the influence of fencing in the choreography. It brings a level of realism and excitement to action sequences that other forms of combat just can't replicate.
Okay, but I have to ask, does this influence extend to, say, a galaxy far, far away? I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and those lightsaber battles always felt different.
You're sensing the Force, my friend.
Okay.
Those epic lightsaber duels in Star Wars. Heavily inspired by fencing.
Really?
Oh yeah. George Lucas himself wanted the Jedi to fight with elegance and skill, not just brute force.
No way. So Luke Skywalker's training was basically fencing with lasers.
You could say that.
Wow.
Lucas drew inspiration from fencing, particularly the use of the foil and the saber, to create those iconic lightsaber battles.
That's amazing. Suddenly, all those lightsaber duels make so much more sense. The way they move, the clashes, the strategy, it all clicks.
It's a testament to the enduring influence of fencing. It's a timeless art form that continues to captivate and inspire, even in the realm of science fiction.
It's mind-blowing. But let's bring our focus back to the history of fencing itself. For centuries, it was a male-dominated sport, right? When did women enter the scene?
You're right. For a long time, fencing was considered a primarily male pursuit. It wasn't until 1924, almost 30 years after the first modern Olympics, that women were finally allowed to compete.
Wow, 1924. That feels shockingly recent considering how popular women's fencing is today.
It is remarkable, isn't it? And even then, women were only allowed to compete in foil fencing. It took even longer for them to gain recognition in all three weapon categories.
It's a stark reminder of how far we've come in terms of gender equality in sports. So how did women eventually break through those barriers in the fencing world?
It was a gradual but determined journey. Over the decades, women relentlessly challenged the status quo, proving their skill, athleticism, and strategic minds were just as sharp as their male counterparts.
And thank goodness they did. Now we have incredible female fencing champions on the world stage, demonstrating that this sport truly knows no gender boundaries.
Absolutely. We've seen extraordinary female athletes dominate in all three weapon categories: foil, épée, and saber. They've shattered glass ceilings and inspired generations of fencers, proving that dedication, skill, and a sharp mind are all that matter.
It's been an incredible journey, hasn't it?
It really has.
From those early Bronze Age blades to the global stage at the Olympics and
Right.
even a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
Fencing truly has a way of weaving itself into history and popular culture.
It does. And you know what I find most compelling is how this journey, it reflects broader cultural shifts.
Okay.
We've seen fencing evolve from, brutal means of survival to a codified system of honor, from a male-dominated pursuit to a globally celebrated sport where women are, rewriting the rules. It's really a microcosm of human history, played out with lightning-fast reflexes and strategic brilliance.
Yeah, it's like a dance, a duel, a game of chess, all rolled into one. No wonder it's captivated people for centuries. But what does all this mean for our listener, who might be thinking, okay, this was fascinating, but why should I care? How is this relevant to me?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
And here's the answer. Fencing, it isn't just about swordplay. It's about strategy, adaptability, discipline, and constantly refining your approach. These are qualities that are valuable in every aspect of life, whether you're facing an opponent on the piste or navigating the complexities of, the modern world.
So the next time you see a fencing match, you won't just see, flashing blades and fancy footwork.
Right.
You'll see a culmination of history, strategy, athleticism, artistry.
You'll witness the legacy of warriors, philosophers, the evolution of combat technology, and the triumph of the human spirit.
Absolutely. We've journeyed through time, explored the evolution of weaponry and technique, and witnessed the rise of champions, both male and female. It's been a wild ride, to say the least.
Indeed it has. And like any good deep dive, it leaves us with a sense of wonder, a thirst for more knowledge, and a deeper appreciation for this ancient art form that continues to capture imaginations worldwide.
So until next time, keep your minds sharp, your reflexes even sharper, and never underestimate the power of a well-placed riposte. This has been The Deep Dive, signing off.